Everybody, how's it going? I'm gonna sing a little song for you today. That totally doesn't go with this track at all, I'm sorry. Maybe I should sing up a half step so it's in tune with the chords. It's Selway Cocktail Lounge Hour. I'm gonna sing a little song, do a little dance. All right, everybody. What do you think? Should I do techno live streaming production tutorials and sing everything? No. Who was first in the chat today? Whispa, Waptingby, Roy Strobel, Martin Crockett, Silver Knobs, Handmade Detroit Techno. What's up? Noob host. Hello. Will Joseph. Shane Anthony from San Antonio. Yes, Thomas is in the chat. It's 343 Labs with the engagement. Asking everybody, where you living? We're here in New York City. New York, New York. I swear. I better stop. Got Martin Crockett in London. Will Joseph in Copenhagen. And Absent. You're in the Netherlands, right? Somewhere. Amsterdam or elsewhere. I don't remember. Who else we got here? Atsatenko is here. Live Society drying out from the hurricane in Florida. Oval Shrimp. Thank you, Oval Shrimp. This track's got some energy. Could be a banger. I was just thinking the kick has a lot of sub in it. That could be amazing, or it might also like blow up the speakers. We'll see. Luminous Cloud, welcome back. Acid Bat is here. What's good? Sufist or Suffist? Yes, let's go. We're just about to go. I'm gonna stop rambling on. DJ Feo, what up? The Odd Couple is here. We got the vibe. Grizz Christofferson. I love it. From Montana. That's a good play on the name there, Grizz. And Baumeister, hey. All right. Shall we? Let's do it. Hi, it's Saturday, and I'm John Selway, and this is Techno on Saturday on 343 TV. Lately, I've been kind of silly, right? Like, I was just singing. I think what it is there's this whole, like, I've been real busy and a little stressed lately, honestly. Like, there's a lot going on in my life, family, work, etc., right? It's all just nuts. And on top of that, like, my whole family's been, like, sick on and off, like, congestion. Yeah, so apologies if I occasionally have to clear my throat and maybe have to cough a little bit because I'm still getting over it. Last time with the feedback session with Lag, that was great. We did 2 hours. So many good submissions. Some of you guys are here. Thank you again for that high level of participation and high quality in general. Like, really good stuff. I know I still owe a couple people some feedback in the Discord. So yeah, the Discord, I'm just going from one thought to another. It's like ADD all over the place today. Discord, 343 Labs. If you haven't joined it already, you should do that because we do these things where we do feedback sessions and sample challenges, and I still have the remix parts for Psychedelic Research Lab. Keep on climbing up there. Any day now, they're going to disappear, and you'll be sad if you didn't get them. So I got 2 submissions. I haven't listened to them yet. I saw them. Thank you, guys. And yeah, we'll go into that. We'll probably play them on the stream. It's not going to be as like a whole show about it, but we'll get them in there. And right. So where were we? 343 Labs Discord. We're a music production school in New York, in Berlin. Our good pal Thomas is here in the chat to field your questions if you should have any about our programs. We're doing a little push to get some people to sign up right now. We've, Black Monday's coming, Cyber, this, that, whatever, like all these sales at this time of year, and we are no exception. We've got like a pre-sale going on with some really good discounts on our courses. I'm sure Thomas could put a link there, or you can just like go to our webpage. The links are in the description. And check out what we're doing. 343 Labs in New York, 343 Labs in Berlin, 343 Labs online, 343 Studio, the subscription program. So much going on. I think for now that's enough of the marketing spiel, and let's hang out. I'm This morning I was, hacking phlegm. I'm sorry, that's too much information. And, just trying to warm up, and I've been pretty low key all morning. I think my caffeine is just kicking in. That plus the little rush of anxiety when I'm about to hit go live. That just is kicking all in, and my brain is just all over the place. So it's definitely one of those days. It's a roller coaster day. And I hope you guys are all ready to kind of rave it up and bang it up a little bit, because what I'm working on is a remix that I've started for an artist who is also a member of the 343 community. He's a student, and he's really making a big push to get his stuff out there. And we made a little deal on the side, and I'm doing a remix for him. And he had a bunch of stuff, interesting tracks to choose from. And I picked one that was like maybe not the most obvious candidate for a bangin' techno remix. It's a little more a little retro, a little 80s, a little kind of, it has a vocal. It's a song, right? And my initial idea was, maybe I'll do like a synthy, new wavy, Italo disco-y electro version of it. But then he already kind of did that, right? So what's the point of doing that again? So I decided to like take this and make it into like a big, heavy rave monster, basically. And, hopefully I'm on track for that. So that's what we're going to do today. Before we move into the music, let's check in with you guys in the chat and see what y'all are talking about. Nice. Yes, Thomas is calling out. Anybody who's a student here at 343 Labs, make yourself known. Say hello. Tell us how much you love us. Help us out a little bit. Lie Society. Okay, yeah, I know that was too much information, but Lie Society says, Hacking Phlegm. Great track name. Don't worry, I'm not going to make this the Hacking Phlegm remix today. That's funny. Not my style, though. Very funny. The Phlegm Hacker. Yes, I hear it. And Lie Society is also saying, you're just coming out with the ideas today. Black Monday should be a new techno track nod to Blue Monday. Well, yes, that could be. But now when you say Black Monday, no, it's Black Friday, right? I'm all confused now. Black Monday, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, Prime Day, all these days where we get to up our level of consumption to the maximum and make even more money for the corporations that are making record profits in a time of inflation. But this is not a politics show, so let's not talk about that anymore. What else is going on in the chat here? Thank you again, Luminous Cloud, there for saying it was a good show last week. Yes, I agree. Really, really enjoyed. I mean, just having Lag on as a guest is fun, right? He's got to come back more often. He's a regular. For those of you who aren't following him on Twitch, do so. He's not streaming a lot, but when he does, he shows you some good stuff. So, and he's working in Reason, but of course, a lot of the concepts apply to whatever DAW or gear you're using. So, yeah, follow him, check him out, and I will definitely have him back. He's got to do another show sometime not too far into the future. All right, hey Doug, what's up? Glad you're here. Nice to see you. How you doing? How you feeling? And yeah, you're here also downtown in Manhattan. That's great. So this is a good question. Luminous Cloud's asking, any cool M4L Max for Live devices you are using? I was just thinking that this week, like I should go find some more because I use Ableton Live obviously, and I like my Max for Live devices, and let's do that. Why don't you guys throw some ideas for your favorite Max for Live devices here in the chat? We'll take a note of those, and then we could do a show with some of or all of them even eventually. So yeah, that's a good one. You give me some ideas for that. And I think that's most of the current chat. We're caught up. Let's see what's going on in my live project. Whoop. And all right, so I mentioned this is kind of a banger, and I'm trying to go for like hard and ravey, but like still a hint of like I don't want it to be totally industrial and dark, right? I want a little of that. You know, there's some reverb maybe on the kick. I'm kind of not sure whether I'm going to have the dry kick or the rumble reverb thing. It just I don't know how cavernous I want it to be, or if I want it to go more dry and sharp sounding. And you know, I mentioned it has vocals, right? But the vocals are being heavily processed, right? We're going to look at that. And then another sort of goal for this was, I was thinking, like, I want it to sound, you know, I'm an old guy and I like classic techno, and some, you know, I want it to sound a little bit 90s, but also modern, right? So it's got to be kind of crispy and shiny production wise and big and, you know, compressed and limited and saturated and, you know, but also I'm a couple of the ideas I had for what to do with the parts and for the style are a little bit influenced by Joey Beltram. I will say that now. And it sort of kind of happened semi-consciously because, anyway, there were a couple of his 90s tracks that I had kind of in my mind with the way the percussion sounds were and the rhythms were programmed. And then, you know, there's a lot of really good Joey Beltram tracks that have this like really strong stab, like especially early on, right? So that was an idea. But then I also wanted to kind of have that stab morph and evolve into something. And then on top of all of this, right, this kind of where I wanted to go with the mix, and I'm all other than some drum sounds, almost everything in here is processed original sounds. So I'm taking the dry sounds from the original and turning them into other things, right? So not too much, there's not like synthesis. I mean, there's synthesis, right? Because I'm doing sample-based synthesis. I'm taking these audio samples and then, you know, using synthesis and techniques and audio effects to make them crazy. So I don't know. I don't even remember where I left this when I save it. Let's hear what happens when I press play. Cross your fingers. Okay, look, it's a snare. And this is, you know, there's a little blippy bloopy. What is that? It's not a bleep. It's a little modulating thing. So this is one of the elements that I created from the original stem. This is actually right here, the stem that I'm working with. Here, it's kind of quiet there. And this has got this more kind of 80s sounding straight eighth note thing, right? Turn that up a little bit. Really simple. It's just he's just repeating a sample. And that's kind of the, you know, in the original, I don't have all of the stems, all the parts in this project anymore. I already went through the process of like removing most of the stuff I wasn't going to use or muting it or whatever. And, you know, not too complex of a sound. I could have like recreated this, something like this pretty simply. Like if I were going to, let's say, do a more 80s sounding version of this, I might like do a similar pattern with a different synth and kind of tweak it and make it sound, you know, more synthy, right? Rather than just a retriggered sample. But what I decided to do is like use some effects processing to create a more modern, kind of less, more syncopated, but part that comes in and out, but that still has a little echo of the original, and it has that because it's created from a sample of it, right? So I've got that. So you can hear it's the same sound with a lot of effects on it. And this is one of my big tricks for today, is using wave shaping distortion to really blow the sounds out. Like here's what it is without the saturator. It's like gone, right? All right, so I'm using the wave shaper and live saturator to like add a lot of frequencies that weren't there before. And it's a really wide sound, like the left and the right are very different. So I'm using this utility, actually making it even wider. I don't know why I did that. And that's going into the drum bus for just to make it a little sharper. I'm bringing out those transients and to add even a little bit more saturation. And then to help it fit with some of the other, like I'm getting rid of some of the lower frequencies there. And I mix as I go. I start adding EQs and compression and everything from the very beginning. I mean, we've talked about that before. And then, okay, so, you know, that's what it would sound like if it's into the part. There it is. Okay, that's what it really sounds like coming out of the after the saturator, wave shaping and everything. And it's really heavy. It sounds good. There's a bunch of reverb on it, but I wanted to have some variation there, so I've got a bandpass filter doing some sample and hold, random jumping around. And it starts talking to you a little bit. There we go. And then I'm saturating it again. Why? I don't know. Just because once I put the bandpass on it, it got a little dull. So I'm adding a little more brightness with the saturator here. And then the reverb. And then a limiter, because it's got really peaky transients because I pushed the transients up a lot, right? So that's that. All right, so that's kind of one of the modified sounds from the original. And actually, I'm going to get rid of that stem, that unprocessed stem. And I kind of, same idea with the snare. I wasn't sure if I was actually going to use this snare at all, because having this kind of noisy blast of a snare on the 2 and 4, sometimes for techno, doesn't it kind of makes it feel a little more slow, right? But I still wanted this kind of 90s ravey vibe, and I felt like keeping the snare there helped it with that. Which track is that snare on? There it is. Right, so that's just, yeah, that's mainly the snare as it was, just mixed a little bit more, fattened up a little bit. And it's got a bunch of delay on it. I'm going to a return. I can play with that if I need to. So yeah, the snare definitely, and the fills of the snare definitely has an old school vibe. What else is going on? Okay. I've left in, you can hear there's some atmospheric kind of whooshy effects. Those are straight out. I haven't really changed those except maybe added some reverb or something. All right. So there's already, like, it's dark, it's spacious. You can kind of get a vibe already with that, with all the reverb on that doo-doo-doo-doo thing. And, wow, you guys are all going off in the chat. I feel like if I respond to the chat too much, I'm kind of going to lose my flow. But I'm going to answer a question because it is completely relevant to what we're doing. So Luminous Cloud is asking, what is that moving filter on the bass line? Well, it's not the bass line. It's just a note. It's like a more mid-rangey layer. So again, I'll show you. So this is an auto filter. Let's listen to it again. All right, so that's without the filter. Let's turn the filter on. All right, the creepy vocals are coming in. I'm already like, you're getting a little sneak peek of what's to come. So the movement is happening from the LFO being set to sample and hold. So like every time it's just spitting out a random value. It's set to every quarter note. And then also, this is an interesting thing about the auto filter that doesn't get mentioned that much, but down here it's got a quantize, which is, quantizing what? But basically, like, it quantizes the modulation of the filter frequency. So, like, even if this, let's say this LFO is set to a sine wave, we'll slow it down. And I'm going to make it unsynced and slow, right? So that's just going to sweep it up and down slowly. Let's speed it up a little bit. You can hear it smoothly going up and down. All right, but if I turn the quantize off, all right, I'm trying to make it so it's really obvious. Now you can hear it sweeping, like that smooth, right? It's the smooth shape of the sine wave sweeping the filter up and down. But if I put quantize on, it's going to step, right? It's going to jump from 16th note. Do you hear it? It's not as smooth. Right. So anyway, that's kind of what's happening, that it's actually like quantizing the modulation so that it jumps to a note value or a rhythmic value. But anyway, let's put that back to where it was. There it is. That's where I ended up for that. So that's your question. Doug wants to hear the original track. Okay. That's a good question and totally valid. I'll play you little bits and pieces of the sounds, but I don't want to because this is, I'm kind of, this is someone else's music and it's unreleased and I'm just giving you like a little preview. So, I didn't get a chance to talk to him first just to completely make sure like he's cool with this. So hopefully, I think he will be. So I'm kind of I want to be a little reserved about how much of the original that I expose, right? So I'm trying to kind of keep it a little bit obscured on purpose because we want to focus on like my process of the remix and stuff more. And then when he's ready to present his art to the world, then sure. All right. So yeah, but understandably, it would make sense to hear the original. But I'll let you hear little bits of the unprocessed sounds as we go along. What's up, Hathor? Glad you're here. It always throws me off that your handle here in the YouTube chat is girl. It's kind of, I just think it's funny. Hey, Ketterbosh, what's up? And all right, let's keep going. Let's keep plugging away through these different parts because there's so much more going on. All right, and I'm not even sure. I'm about at the stage where I want to start arranging. So we might start doing that today. It just sort of depends on how long it takes me to get through the breakdown. All right. So let's put some drums in. So before I go into more of the parts that I've created out of the original, the elements that I've created out of the original parts, let's go for all right. Like that's the vibe. Big, heavy, it's a distorted, very compressed, limited, you can see it. There's it's barely dynamic. I might even need to tweak this a little bit. But I wanted a really strong transient. I'm using Live's DS kick, and I found that this was the original way I had it with this little bit of a knock, but you can hear it's kind of phasing. And I noticed that, and I wanted it to be a little cleaner and punch through a little bit more. And I clicked the phase invert, and now it's sharp. I like that. All right, so that's I want thick, loud, bright, dirty / clean at the same time, right? Very modern, big kick. And I have over here, and you can see I'm totally boosting the treble up to make it sharp. I don't know, maybe that's overdone. I'll revisit that when I do the final mix. But so far, so good, right? And then I have a rack. I made doing a wet-dry rack because I wasn't sure about whether I want to use the reverb or not. So I've got a chain in here, just all wet reverb. And let's hear what that sounds like. It makes it sound much more hardcore like that. So if we hear this, that could be a lot of already just this with some percussion. I could do most of the track like this. So speaking of, let's hear some of the drums. I'm using a really good samples of RZ1. I can't even remember where I found this. The RZ1, Casio RZ1, classic sample-based drum machine from the late 80s, mid to late 80s. So I know Joey Beltram used to use this back in the day, and there's a lot of classic Chicago house and acid house records that used the RZ1. It had a sampler in it, and there's a famous Steve Poindexter Work That Mother Effer track, which you probably know. Work That Mother, right? And that uses the RZ1. So I wanted to have that kind of jacking RZ1, Chicago-y, Joey Beltram, New York. All right, so that's got the I was Another track with 909 hi-hats? No, let's mix it up a little bit. So that's sort of where that started. And there's the groove, right? So I've got, I got the hi-hats on one channel, and this has some other hi-hats and a rim shot. And that's just, like, for me, classic jacking kind of drum programming using the RZ1. But now let's hear this again without all that rumble. So I'm not sure. We may or may not use the rumble. We'll see. What do you guys think? It kind of depends on how it all goes with the main element. Shovel to the head sound, Wispa says. Drum code. Yeah, all right. I'm not trying to make a drum code record. And actually, if I keep it stripped down like this and put in some big wah stabs and like some melodies and like a vocal hook, I could make this kind of on the drum code direction, but no, I want it to be more raw. You'll hear where I'm going with this. This is just the foundations, right? And yes, the vocal sample is like real. What I did with the vocals is really, oh my God. Okay, so let's get into the next stage of this. All right, so we've got the drum groove going. There's a couple other things going on. There's this is a guitar, and I'm not sure if this was played in the original, like from original, but I like took a little small loop of this guitar. It's just strumming, right? It's just picking like muted strings and made a loop out of it. And that kind of contributes to the old school feel of it too, I think. And that's not gonna be loud on the mix. That's just like a little layer of character in the drums. Turn my mix up in here. All right, I'm gonna mute that for a second. We got the whooshes. Now, so I made another sound with that little bass hit from the original. So you remember what that sounded like? Just real simple, bump, right? Real. And this is like a lot heavier use of the saturator. And this is really going to be the main driver for this track. So let's hear how this is built up. If I take off too many of these effects, this is going to take forever. Let's just hear what it sounds like. Right, that's the original, pretty much, with a little bit of mixing on it. And I've got that way overdriven into Wave Shaper. Not sure about that. There we go. There's some weird stereo stuff going on with this. So I have two utilities kind of trying to deal with that. All right, Luminous Cloud is saying keep the verb on the kick, but reduce it. Yeah, I was thinking that, like bringing it back a little bit. All right. All right, controlling, again, I'm using the drum bus, not on drums. I'm using it for the transients and the saturation and the compression. Probably not using the reverb. I've got soothe on there because you'll see why it gets intense. So here's what this is like. This is what the main thing. This is going to make or break the track. This in the arrangement. All right, so I'm changing the bass for the wave. It's the bass for the saturator changes the frequency balance going into the distortion. Right, so that's kind of like you use that like you'd use a filter. Also increasing the release time to make this drone more. Let's hear it with the beat. And I'm just gonna, automate, tweak these. Is that too much? Oh my God. It's ridiculous. All right. What else could I go? What else could I do with this? Holy crap. Oh, here comes the vocal. The scary vocals. No snare drum rolls, Jean-Paul. All right, here we go. Ready? Should I or shouldn't I? I mean, this is... Some of you are going to hate this. Some of you are going to love it. Definitely one or the other. You could just keep going. Some of you might also know that I've done tracks like this before that just keep going up. All right. Now, I can't pull off a drop right now because I don't have the controls set up. But you get the idea, right? I don't know if I can do it. Let's see. Okay. I need to breathe. Let's take a moment. That was really intense. What's up, everybody? It is a little past halfway on the stream today. This is Selway's Techno Saturdays. You're watching 343 TV, brought to you by 343 Labs Music Production School, based in New York City and in Berlin and here online on the internets. You know I love to be here every week. You know things get a little silly sometimes. I feel like raving that hard right now. I'm just like, whoa, that is intense. So I want to, because I know people are going to have opinions about this, let's just sit back. Take a breath. I'm going to have a little sip on my coffee-flavored ice water. It's all melted now. And see what you guys have to say. All right. Good gosh. Yes, Whisper. That is definitely a peak track. That was the goal. The goal is to make this like a peak time. Like you could only play it if everybody's all there ready for it. Like you're not starting a set with this unless you're playing after, I don't know, somebody who you need to make up for the energy or compete with. But yeah, you got to build up to this track. This is not one that you just, the crowd needs to be ready for it, right? They need to be warmed up. And I love it. Luminous Cloud says, "Oh, evil." Yeah. Now, the name of this song is Depths, and there actually are lyrics, and they're not exactly dark, but some of the words out of context could be construed that way. So that's what I was sort of taking as a cue, as like there's some sort of darkness hidden in this. Let's emphasize that. So what else is going on? Whisper is asking, is that a phase or filter? I wonder, you might, I did forget one of the effects on that sound. All right, is a flanger. That's what I think. That's the phasey thing that you're hearing. It's going up and up and up and up. So I've got the left and right are offset 180 degrees. Sawtooth waves going up. So like when the one on the left is all the way up, then the other one is going up, and so it's doing that sort of barber pole effect, psychoacoustic effect of almost as if it is going up and up forever and ever. That's what that is. Okay, whoa. It's just, as soon as you put that on, you're like, make it stop! Oh my God. All right. Jean-Paul Bondi said snare roll. I don't know. Maybe snare roll. Maybe snare roll. I feel like it's so powerful on its own, just that one thing, with just tweaking the saturator to make it more intense and doing the pitch rise. The pitch rise I'm using. This is part of the synthesis techniques. I'll go back to that in a second. Like, how did the pitch rise up in that sample? Right. It's not what you would normally do. At least it's not what you would normally assume, like a pitch bend, like a mod wheel kind of, or a, I'm not modulating the pitch of the sample. I'm doing it another way. It's giving me a more intense version of that. And then I love that Doug says, this is exactly the reaction we want for this track is wahoo. Thank you. I appreciate. So yeah, thanks for your nice comments. Wispa thinks I should keep the verb on the kick. Bahadiran Kocher, I'm sorry if I completely butchered your name, is asking, do you always tune the kick? No. And how do you carve the bass for a kick like this? No secret formula. I mean, I would only carve if I'm hearing a problem. And for hard techno, I feel like, where I'm less likely to try to make the kick get out of the way of the bass or whatever. I am doing a little though. Actually, I will show you. This isn't any kind of secret formula, but everybody also already knows about ducking with sidechain compression, right? To get something out of the way. I'm doing a little bit of that with track spacer. I mean, I think frequency dependent, like filtered sidechain kind of situation, like track spacer, is my favorite kind of sidechain ducking nowadays. If it's done for a mix purpose and not as a style, there's certain times where certain styles of music where you hear all the parts amplitude modulating up and down rhythmically as part of the groove, and that's not what I'm doing here. I don't want the bass to go wah, 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 up and down with the kick. I want it to be transparent. I want it to sound like it's solid, and I don't want it to be ducking out of the way all the time. So something like Track Spacer, and there's other plugins that can do similar. Actually, here I'm using it. I'm doing both. I'm sorry. I'm doing both. I've forgotten. But wow, that's so loud. This one I'm using Track Spacer. I'm doing the opposite. I'm not even caring about the bass. I'm using Track Spacer to get, that sound is so bright. It's so much high frequency, and I want it to be like ripping your face off bright. But when it's too bright, it covers up the hi-hats. So I'm actually using Track Spacer, and the sidechain input is from the high frequency percussion to take the highs away from the main lead sound so that you can still hear the hi-hats when it's get bright. So that's like, and then after that, I'm doing a traditional sidechain with the kick to duck it just a little bit, but not so much that you hear it going up and down. It's real fast and sharp just for the transient. Okie dokie. So yeah, that was a lot of into track spacer and sidechain compression. Let's see. Oh, and Jean-Paul says I was kidding about the snare roll. It sounds like there's a snare roll already in it for some. Yeah. Well, no, there is. There is a snare roll kind of because of the snare stem, the original stem, which is, where is it? I can't find it. There's too many tracks that are not labeled properly. Maybe I'll find it over here. All right, actually, I'm going to turn off the... There it is. Nope, there. So you can hear sometimes, if I do a snare roll, you know what it'll be? I'll probably just like, all right, let's set the loop position to 20. Check this out. This will be the snare roll if I do it. Let's see if it works. Oh, loop has to be on. Silly me. Or something like that. I can just loop this. Like, remember I said I want to use the stems. I'll just edit the snare so that it repeats longer sometimes to do a snare drum roll if I were to do that. But I think probably I'm not going to do that. Let's undo and stop breaking my my snare here. Cool. Ketterbosch asks, couldn't you do the track spacer thing with Soothe as well? Well, I could use, yeah, Soothe has a sidechain input, right? I've never used it, but yes, absolutely. Any plugin that lets you like react to incoming audio and follow the frequency and amplitude of that incoming audio, and then use that to lower the amplitude of frequencies on another sound, that's what we're doing. So yeah, I totally could have used Soothe, but I think Soothe uses more CPU, so I use track spacer for that primarily, and then I use Soothe when I'm just reducing harsh resonances and things like that to smooth out a sound. There is a Soothe that's another thing about this sound. It's so bright and in your face, like you need Soothe to like, it's like I need to de-ess it basically because it gets so when it gets loud, it could be painful. So we got to totally control that. All right. The snare that I was just playing is not from the Casio. That is from the original track, and I do not know where that snare is from, but it was decent, and I just, spiced it up a little bit with the mixing. All right. So you heard when in that whole build that I just was working through, you heard, let's go back to the main screen. You heard the vocals creeping in. There's 2 layers of vocals that you only heard one, right? So this is what's going. Let's hear those vocals by themselves because I really love this. There was a bit of a delay there for it to come in because I had to run through a buffer. This is actually, I'm using granular effects on this. This is Arturia Fragments, and it's this Dark Cloud preset, which I picked because, hey, that looks like the right name, and then it was the right vibe, and then I tweaked it a little bit, just a little. And I think probably what I'm going to do is, because it's kind of modulating constantly, and it's a little bit different every time, I'm going to bounce some of this to audio when I arrange it, and place it more precisely, rather than just let it be kind of random, whatever it wants to do. I mean, I could do that too. That could still work, but I think I want to be a little bit more precise about it in this case. But anyway, let me just quickly give you a little glimpse of what the original vocal sounds like.
Bottom level, bottom feeder, sublimation, on vacation.
A little weird, in a good way. Unique, right? Any kind, like, it doesn't matter like how great a pop song it is or whatever. What matters is it unique? Does it have character? Does it have flavor? And it does. There's a unique style. It's not recorded amazingly well. I mean, it had a decent mic, but like it was, and I'm just letting it be what it is, except I'm putting a bunch of effects on it. I forgot, what am I doing with the little altar boy? There's a little altar boy. I think I'm just using it to double, right? So it's like the original plus a little bit of auto-tuning mixed together to make it sound chorusy, right? And then that's EQ'd and then distorted. I wanted it to have this kind of crunchy, not lo-fi exactly, but again, back to the 90s, 80s kind of industrial distorted vocal kind of sound. That's the clean version. And the audio has echo in it. I mean, I just left it there rather than try to edit out. I didn't have a fully dry version of this. And then so we got the harsh upper frequencies now, and then that just through this thing is amazing. It's like getting swallowed up into the depths of hell. Yes, Luminous Cloud Fragments is a CPU hog. That's another reason why I would think about bouncing this down to audio and working with that. I'm going to get this back down to normal here. Just having those evil vocals swirling around in the background is going to be great. They don't even need to be that loud. All right, so that's that element. So the other one is this, which I'm not necessarily going to use all of it. I think I might like chop phrases out and bring them in sometimes. but it's the same lyrics with a male voice, and I'm using live spectral resonator like a vocoder to make the big, like, commanding, you do what I say techno voice. And this one I did edit to, like, there's some echo on it, and I like chopped it and, you know, gated it to make it a little cleaner sounding before it goes into that resonator. So this sounds probably really cool over, like, in a break. All right. I also have a filter on the main sound. Something funny. I'm off here. Let's try here. The on vacation part kind of makes it less dark. I think I maybe need to tune the voice to fit with the lead bass thing. All right. I don't think we're getting to arranging today. But I think what I'm doing is going through the parts and deciding what, because the break is so important. I'm like, that's kind of what I'm dwelling on in my mind as I listen to these parts, is like the key moments of the track. Like, because this is kind of ravey, main floor, big, hands in the air, hopefully, result, right? So that's the stuff I want to focus on right now. Like, I feel I'm confident in the groove. Like, the kick is solid. The drum groove is good. The rhythm is good, right? Now I'm thinking about mix moves, arrangement moves. How are we gonna do these big dramatic moments? Like, what's gonna be the focus? And just listening to it again now, like, I like that vocal, right? But probably not too much. I think having it too much will be like oppressive. I think I need to like trim out some parts and just have it occasionally come in to give you like a command or whatever. Like, pick out my favorite phrases and just drop them in where they work. Bottom level, bottom feeder. That's very dark. Sublimation. That's also very dark and sort of, a little cliche techno-y thing to repeat in a techno track, but it'll work. It'll totally work. Not using on vacation. Not using on vacation. Maybe. Wait, tears flow. Do you really want sad? Do we want sad?
Like Dante's stew.
Dante's stew. Now, I mean, that's a literary reference. I feel like tears flow like Dante's stew is a little deep for a rave tune. So let's maybe take that one on advisement and think about it. In the interruptum. I'm not sure.
Between me and you.
All right. Maybes.
Bottom level.
Oh, there's bottom level, bottom feeder again.
Sublimation.
There's sublimation again.
On vacation.
Nope, no on vacation.
Tears.
No tears. I don't want to be sad.
Like Dante's.
All right, these are just repeated in a different way, and then
In the interruptum. Between me and you.
all right. So I've got it more cut down now. I feel like maybe those two. We might just keep it simple and do the first bottom level, bottom feeder. Like, that's just kind of a little more raw, and then this is a little more generically dark techno vibe. So those will definitely work for this track. Doug says, this sounds like a horrible vacation. Yeah, definitely. I think the vacation part might not work for this remix. That is really funny. Welcome to Firefest. That's right. This is very clever, guys. Very funny. I love it. Cool. Luminous Cloud says, I think Candy Trance or Nostrum when I think ravey. I know why you think that. But ravey also, like, think of like UK hardcore rave music from the very early 90s, like pre-drum and bass, breakbeat. That's ravey. Think of gabber and hardcore. That's ravey. There's definitely room for dark, and there's plenty of ravey techno. I think ravey's like a feeling that you can give different genres. There can be ravey house, like the Keep on Climbing with the big snare drum build up and the drop is ravey house music, right? Without that, without the big dramatic build and drop in the middle, it would just be house, right? Chord stabs, vocals, funky bass line, groovy drums. But because it's pumping and it lifts up, and that's the ravey part, right? Like, so I guess, all the EDM stuff has that ravey vibe too. But it doesn't necessarily, it's not a bad thing. Although that reminds me, in terms of techno, I think on Facebook or somewhere the other day, it might have been Instagram, I forget, Truncate posted saying that to all the people sending him demos, not every track needs to have a break in a build. Not every track needs to have a drop. And that is totally true too with a lot of techno, is that it doesn't need it. I could actually make this track banging hard and ravey, but without a big build in the middle. Or maybe the whole track is the build. Maybe it never lets up. Maybe it just starts and then grows and doesn't give you that drama in the middle. It just builds tension and it gets harder, and that's it. And that would also that might be a vibe for somebody over another, right? They might not dig the big breaks. It is 1:56. All right, let's just take a listen to this a little bit before we go. I can't go long today. I got my son's birthday party to get to after this. So say happy birthday to my son Otto. He is a big 10 today. And as soon as I am done here in a few minutes, I am out the door. All right. Let's play this one more time and just see what we going on. I'm gonna mute the deeper vocal for now, and let's tone down Mr. Crazy Grindy Ravey dude. And listen to some of these. There's some other parts that I didn't get to. Some drum variations. What's this one? Aha. So I was playing around, now that I went over all the ravey stuff, I was playing around with a deeper version. Right? So this is like another way to go. I have some musical parts, and it doesn't only have to be about the crazy grindy rave. And these are all based on the actual synths and in the original. This one is just a chord stab. Right? And I'm using it exactly how it was in the original, except I'm using a grain delay and pitch shifting to add more notes and atmosphere. Right, so that's a granular process on that chord stab with a bunch of reverb. I also took a little piece of one of the lead melody elements, and I'm just looping a little bit of it to make it more repetitive, a little more trippy, trancey kind of. So if I wanted to, I could make this a bit more progressive, and I don't mean progressive in terms of genre. I mean about like I could start it deep and moody and then introduce the crazy rave elements in the middle, right? And so that would give it telling more of a story. Or maybe I have two versions, right? I have the darker version. And actually, let me go back to the vocals there real quick. on vacation. I'm just gonna leave him in. Okay, it is 2 o'clock, I believe. I've got to stop it there, as I said. It's time to go to the birthday party. We're playing ping pong. My son's having a ping pong party today for his birthday. How adorable. It's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks, everybody, for hanging out with me and checking out this remix that I'm working on. Definitely, I think I've got some good ideas about how to proceed. So, maybe we'll bring it back another day. And thanks to all of you for joining in and asking questions and making comments and being a part of the community, as always. And that's it. I'll see you guys next week. Adios.